If you didn't watch last week's video, be sure and check it out. I'm going to show you on the same two KULED switches that we flash with Tasmota. We're going to do some advanced little tricks, control the LEDs, dim the LEDs, do three-way configuration, and more. Let's talk about the switches for a little bit. In the past week, we used the regular Sonoff basic template, which is a simple one relay and one LED and one button. The switch has green LED and a red LED in one. The green is controllable through a GPIO pin. The red is not controllable because it's hardwired into the relay. We're going to show you how to control the green through a separate topic. So first, before we get started on actually changing up the switches, we're going to speak about a little bit about the Tasmota rules right quick. Tasmota has three, and I always call them buckets of rules. There's rule bucket 1, 2, 3, etc. Each bucket will hold about 500 characters of rule text. You can put multiple rules all in one bucket. You can turn rule 1 bucket off and rule 2 off as well. You're testing different rules. If you just you turn rule 1 bucket off, it may turn off all of your rules that you may not want to turn off. It's more like just different sections of rules. You can do switch 1 in bucket rule 2, or you can talk about switch 1 in rule 3. It doesn't matter. There's no difference in the rule buckets. You just got to make sure they're turned on. And other than that, the rules are just a simple set of events. Whether you're saying on certain event, do this. And usually it's going to be a Tasmota command. And it may look kind of confusing with some of the rules at first. Instead of copying and pasting them, we're going to go ahead and type those rules out, and I'll explain them as we go, because each piece that we show here will have a rule. We're going to do a situation where you don't have the ability to do a three-way configuration, which in the US is, we always consider that three-way, which actually is just two switches. So this will be the primary switch here that's actually connected to the light. You see it turns this light off and on. These are both set as Sonoff basic templates. And this one is actually going to be not connected to a light at all. This would just be a switch just in the wall getting power. It wouldn't be actually feeding power to anything at all. So you may add it on to another switch box that you have, or put a bigger switch box, and you don't have the ability to wire over to another light. So we're going to send a message from this switch to here. And one cool thing we're going to do is we're going to sync up the status lights between these two. That way you'll see across the room when the light's on and off, the light whenever these are on. First, we'll go to the second switch's console. This is going to be your secondary switch, and we'll do a rule 1 on button 1 state. So we don't care what state it's in. We're going to do a publish of a command to the primary switch, power, toggle, and end the rule, which is end on. So rule 1 on button 1 state, do publish command, primary switch powers the command and toggles the payload. We'll do rule 1, turn it on, and let's test and see if it works. Push it one time, and it turns the light on. Push it one other time, and that's your three-way config, but you'll notice the status light is not matching up to this status light. So if you want to see the status lights match up, we need to have a message that comes back from this switch to tell this one to turn on. We'll go to the console of the primary switch. Of course, we're going to do a rule. So rule 1 on power 1 state, and we don't care about the state. We're going to do a publish of a command to the secondary switch. And we're going to send the power command. But one thing we're also going to do is we're going to send the value of the state of the power. So what that's going to do is whatever the value of the relay is, we're going to send that over as the payload of the power command. So it'd be on or off, and it makes it one simple command to do, just send the value. And we'll make sure until rule 1 turn it on. We'll push the button here, and you can see that now this one turns on, turns the other light and the status light on. And we can do vice versa. You turn it off. You can see vice versa. We push this one, and it turns both that one on as well as the status light. And it's a really easy way, with just a couple rules, to synchronize status lights and do a three-way configuration without any additional wiring by just simply adding another switch. In this segment, we're going to show where we have a primary switch. This one will be connected to one light. This switch will be also connected to a light in your home, but it not physically connected to the other light. But say it's across the room and you want to do a pseudo three-way type of setup where you can control one light, say a kitchen light, with this one light, but yet this one's in the living room. You will be able to do a long press on this switch, which will turn on the living room light without doing any additional wiring to connect the two switches. We'll take this one, which is our secondary switch. We'll go to configuration, configure module. I'm going to change it to generic, and we'll save it. Go back to configuration once it reboots. Configure module. For GPIO 0, we're going to do switch 1 instead of button. For GPIO 12, which is the relay, and we'll do that for relay 1. Okay, so we'll set this to LED 1 instead of LED 1I, because this is not an inverted LED. So it'll be green while the switch is off, and it'll switch to the red when the relay is on. The LED 1 and LED 1I, the I just simply means inverted, where it's going to do a reverse of the state. There's also a relay 1I, which is basically the relay is in reverse state. And that's all the I is inverted. So we'll save that. Go back to console. Now one thing you'll notice once we change it to switch, typically a switch is going to be for an on-off, and we have push buttons here. So you notice if you push it, it just turns on and off as you hold it. You need to change this to a push button. The switch is on, so we'll do switch mode 1, and normally 1 and 0 is toggle, and then hold equals hold. So we'll do switch mode 1, 5. Just to test it, we should be able to push it one time and it turns on, and then when we push it again, it turns off. First, we're going to do for the hold is set option 32. The default for set option is 4 seconds for the hold. That's a long time to do a long press hold. So we're going to do it to 1 second, which is the option of 10. So we'll set it to a 1 second hold time. And next thing we'll need to do is we're going to set a rule. Rule 1, and say on switch 1 state equals 2, do power toggle end the rule, which is end on. Why we have to put this rule is because once you put a rule in for the hold, the actual relay of this switch wouldn't work anymore. So we need to continue the functionality of the local relay that would be doing this light, and we just want to add to it. On switch 1 state equals 3, which is a hold, we're going to do a publish to another switch, which is command KLD. That's going to be our primary switch. We're going to send the power command, and we're going to send the toggle as the payload. And it's just going to simply toggle that switch across the room. We'll enter that rule, do rule 1, 1 to turn it on, and let's test it. We'll do a short press. You can see it does turn our LED on. The short press turns it off. And this is going to be our local light. Now to turn this one on, we're going to do a long press. And there it is. We'll do another long press for 1 second. And it turns that light off. As you can see, you hold it and turns the light on. So it's a real easy way to take an existing switch and add functionality to it to do a pseudo three-way connectivity without doing any additional wiring. We're going to show you how to control the green LED with a separate topic. And it's actually very simple to do. And you could use this in different automations, such as different status of something else in your home, or if you just want to turn that green LED on and off based on different times of the night. Like if you don't want that green light on after 10 o'clock at night because, say, for instance, that switch is in a bedroom. So what you'll do first is we need to go into the Tasmota GUI. you'll go to the configuration section and we'll go to configure module. Even though we don't have a second relay, we're going to set up GPIO 4 as relay 2, and we'll save that. Now you'll have 2 relays in Tasmota. Toggle 1 still does the switch. What we need to do is go to console. Rule 1, we want to put an on power 2, that's the event, pound state equals 0, which is off. What we want it to do is do the LED power command of off, and then you do end on. Then we'll do a second rule in the same rule 1, on power 2 state equals 1, and what that is that's when the relay turns on, the on state, we want it to do LED power 1 end on. So now you'll notice the toggle 2, it changes just the green LED, and we can turn that one still off and on, and now you have independent control of the green LED. Now, one thing to note is you'll notice now that you've added the additional relay, your state topic for the switch is no longer just power. It's going to be power 1 and power 2, so you'll need to make that change inside your home automation, such as Home Assistant. Off, on, off, and on. And I can still turn on the light. It's a real quick bonus piece. We're going to change actually the brightness of the green LED on the switch. If you don't want the red light, you would have to do a simple modification by opening up the switch and snip the lead to the red side of the LED. You could take the red leg of the LED and connect it to a GPIO pin and actually control that as another virtual relay. We'll go into configuration, configure module, and I'm going to change it to a generic configuration module, change it back to button 1. We'll do relay 1, and for the LED, so we're going to change it to PWM1I for inverted. We'll save it. At the main menu, notice now you have 2 toggles. The original toggle is going to be for the actual relay of the switch like it used to be, and toggle 2 will actually be for the LED. When you click toggle 2 and turn it on, you'll see the LED turns on. You can change the brightness of it by simply moving the slider, and it will get dim, which you can control through the GUI or through various automations using the dimming power 2 topic as seen in the console. And you'll see there's the power 2, and if you passed in the dimmer, all there is to it. If you want to control that LED for different automations, or you want to change it at various times of the night, you could change to lower that color but still be able to see the switch. You could change the brightness of the LED, and it does give an interesting effect now that when you have a little bit less green mixed with the red, you get some little different colors, as you can notice as you can go through the spectrum as you change the brightness of the green LED. So thanks for watching these additional setups of these various switches. This all can apply to, you could use some different Wemos D1, Node MCUs, various buttons. You don't have to use these same 2 switches. You could use whatever, just you can apply these same concepts as a mixture of different switches. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of different things and fix an actual problem in your home. So stay tuned for the next video. We're going to take one of these switches and we'll add some additional things onto the switch that you may have not thought of you could do with one of these simple switches. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and y'all take care.